The build is like a text. It can be read and understood or only read, without making it one's own. The elements that contribute to form the build can be treated as the similar components of the language, and just as happens with the texts, the different composition of the elements leads to even deeply different results. The survey, before being a measurement as detailed and accurate as possible, must be a critical reading that, in the historical build as in the contemporary one, lets us recognize their design processes and formal intentions just through the analysis and understanding of the systematizing of the elements, in order to train aware designers. So, educating for awareness, preparing architects who are technicians, but at the same time attentive readers and interpreters of the reality that surrounds us. To achieve this aim, you must employ all the necessary skills, ranging from the knowledge of civilization to the history of the place, considered both in a strict sense and relating to the building traditions, but above all must learn to systematize what can be defined as active constants of the residential build, according to a processing vision that does not stop in the past, but looks to the present and turns to the future. And this is visual perception, since the suggestion itself, derived from views that also appear very different, leaves impressions often corresponding to other real changes of time references, of living models, of socio-cultural realities. The essential tool to educate for a critical reading is representation. It can be both drawing, prepared no matter in what form and with what tools and techniques, photography, video, or whatever else, because it is from the representation of the perception that you have of the build that you must start, releasing it as much as possible from subjective interpretations. A designed, photographed from above and measured city shows very different characters, depending on the building organization, with identifiable elements that are affected by various constraints, as it is evidenced by the view of parts of Genoa attached to this text. Then, reading the image of the build according to the elements that led just to that facies and that go beyond the models and temporal meanings, reading what is behind the appearance of a building structure is essential. According to this hypothesis, through the development of a search that starts from the texts of Gianfranco Caniggia, we arrived at proposing a method of recognition of the objectival elements in the formal outcome of a building, directly connected to the relationship linking the appearance to the substance of the building itself, in search of a perceptual impact assessment. The materials, structures, and use are the transversal components. The junction on the ground, the elevation, the crowning, the essential elements, the formal resolution of windows and passages from one element to the other are the main notes in the project. The resolution of the wall is what you perceive and varies according to the correspondence more or less direct and consequential of the possible choices. It is clear that the greater the design intent is, the greater the gap between the various solutions will be, the greater the authorial contribution and the smaller the choice uniqueness. Critically understanding our environment allows us, ultimately, to assess how intentionality can affect a design, and therefore the construction of a building and what this means in terms of removal of the common local experience, as well as the genius loci. It also means, and perhaps above all, not to consider the ancient heritage either as a suggestion or as an untouchable heritage, in contrast with the contemporary one, but to perceive the possibility of a transforming continuum. Residential ancient build and contemporary one, therefore, continue to belong to the same field of conceptual references, and from this step designers must and can find ideas and suggestions for a design that, while preserving the individuality and authorship of the individual trader, does not forget and denies the context it belongs to.